Example 4. The AB Club at CTHS is selling candy bars for a fundraiser. It costs the club $500 and $5 per case to buy into the fundraiser. The club then sells each case at school for $10 per case. How many cases of chocolate would the AV Club need to sell in order to break even? Okay, so in this case, it seems that we're looking at two different things. First of all, we're going to look at how many cases of chocolate the AB Club needs to sell. And then the other thing that we're looking at is cost, because we're looking at the total amount that they would make. So the other thing that we're looking at is money. Okay, so I'm going to start by labeling my variables. X, which is what I'm looking for, would be the number of cases of chocolate. And for Y, because we're looking at money, we're looking at how many of these cases we would have to sell in order to break even. I'm just going to say Y is total money, total cost. Okay, so now I'm going to start looking at the different pieces of information that they give me. First of all, they tell me that the club is going to spend $500 plus $5 per case of chocolate that they buy. So if I want to put that into an equation, I'm going to say that the total amount spent, Y, is $500 plus $5 per case. Per, remember that means slope, so that's going to be 5x. $5 times however many cases of chocolate are bought. So in this case, this tells me the total amount of money that was spent by the school. Remember, we said Y is the total amount of money. Alright, now the other piece of information is they tell me that the club then sells each case at school for $10 per case. So the total amount that the school makes, my Y, is going to be $10 per case. Per means slope, so that would be $10 times however many cases of chocolate they sell. That's going to give me how much the school makes. So this would be the total money raised. Alright, so now I have the two pieces of information that I need. I have the total amount that the school spent, and I also have the total amount that they would raise depending on the number of cases of chocolate. But specifically, I'm looking for how many cases of chocolate they would need in order to break even, in order for the amount that they spent to be the exact same of the amount that they would raise. Alright, so just by looking at these two equations, you can see that both of the equations equal Y. So I'm going to rewrite my first equation. I have Y equals 500 plus 5x. And the second equation says Y equals 10x. Well, Y equals 10x says that Y is the exact same thing as 10x. It's like saying Y equals 10 dimes. Instead of saying Y is $1, instead of using $1, I could use dimes, 10 dimes, to replace that $1. They are equal to each other. So, because my Y is the exact same thing as 10x, I'm going to use substitution in this case. I'm going to replace the Y in my first equation with that 10x from my second equation. Right? Here's my first equation. And because for my second equation I know Y is the same thing as 10x, all I did was I took away that Y and I put a 10x where the Y used to be. Alright, so now all I need to do is solve for solve for x. And when I do that, I end with 5x equals 500. And I have one more step. In order to get that x by itself, I need to divide. And when I do that, I end up with x equals 100. In this case, we had said x is the number of cases of chocolate, so 100 cases of chocolate. So we figured out that in order for the school to break even, for this club to break even, they would have to sell 100 cases. But before we conclude that that's our answer, let's check it. Our first equation was y equals 500 plus 5x. And our second equation was y equals 10x. So we're saying if this club were to buy 100 cases of chocolate, then they would have spent the exact same amount as they would break even at 100 cases of chocolate. So let's test it out. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take that 100 for my x and I'm going to plug it in. So if I plug it into my first equation, I end up with y equals 500 plus 500, which is y equals 1,000. So if they buy 100 cases of chocolate, then they would have spent $1,000. Okay, so let's test it out with our second equation. Remember, the second equation tells us how much money they raise. So if they sell 100 cases of chocolate, 10 times 100 is also 1,000. So in this case, if they buy 100 cases of chocolate, they spend $1,000. If they sell 100 cases of chocolate, then they make $1,000. So in this case, 100 cases of chocolate is how many cases they would need in order to break even.